from Atlanta.
where we don't float so much as lose power.
It's the 9 Billion Names of Pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm the long-lost Ringling Brother.
So, let's talk about some stuff.
Okay, Danny, let's talk about some stuff. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha.
That's a little more Jimmy Durante than Pennywise. But
Yeah. He's been around for, millennia, so...
I don't believe he's around anymore.
You think?
I meant Jimmy Durante.
Oh, I'm talking about Pennywise.
Oh, yeah. We got company.
We do.
We have company. Introduce our guests.
Well, first off, we have Topher Payne, local Atlanta playwright and bon vivant around town.
I'll take that.
And horror fan.
And the horror fan deluxe, Mr. Daniel Ryder.
Hello.
Welcome. Yeah.
We're here to talk about technical support, specifically the IT department. No?
Yes, I have clowns in my computer, and I can't get out.
But it's a virus that only comes back every 27
7
Yes,
years.
exactly. I thought I had malware, and then it just went away. So I guess we're fine now. Let's live our lives.
Right, but let's have an orgy so we don't forget about it.
Right. Now, if you haven't seen or read or seen the miniseries, we're going to spoil the shit out of Stephen King's It film.
We are less than a month out from the premiere, so huge spoiler alert if you're listening to this after a month. If you haven't seen it
it's
yet,
on you.
Then that's on you.
Yeah, why are you listening to
Yeah,
this?
why are you listening to a recap podcast of a movie you haven't seen?
Right. And why are you angry about it?
Yeah. Calm down.
So I read it in, the early 90s, I want to say, is when I read the book. And I'm not generally a horror guy, but I do like Stephen King a lot. I've read a lot of his books, and I really enjoyed that one. And I remember the Tim Curry, for lack of a better star to latch onto, miniseries. And when was that? Was that like mid-90s?
I want to say about
1990, I think.
1990?
I think you're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe
It had Harry Anderson, so you have to go to when was that a time that was a get?
fresh off a Night Court, or was
Right.
he still doing Night
I think he
Court?
was still doing Night Court.
Oh,
wasn't it?
course.
Wasn't it the guy from the Waltons? Wasn't
Yeah,
his,
yeah.
John
Richard Thomas.
Richard
Yes.
Thomas. Yes.
And John Ritter. Yeah, so it was...
Right.
My God, John Ritter was in that?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see that again.
Yeah, John Ritter was Ben.
Wow. Yeah. I completely.
Yes, in
you
a
know
dramatic
what? I'm
role that
starting
may
to
surprise
forget.
you.
I'm starting to forget parts of it. I can only remember parts of it. It's falling away from me. Oh my God! It's been 27 years.
It has,
since 1990.
Yeah.
It is back, literally.
Yeah. Good timing.
All right, so to get started, let's just round table this to get the brief opinion. Dan?
Yes.
No, guess first.
Yes.
Topher. Yay, nay, middle ground?
On the film.
The general, on the 2017 film.
What I loved, I really loved. And what didn't work for me really particularly stood out on a second viewing.
Okay. Daniel?
I thought it was solid. Not great, but solid.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. But I have only seen it once. But I really enjoyed the interpretation of it. I enjoyed it a lot.
I would say that having not read the book anytime recently,
Yeah, I think that helped.
that definitely helped because there was a lot of stuff in there that I was like, oh yeah, that's right. It's the deadlights. I forgot about that. And certain things started coming back. But I get the feeling that it was really we have to establish the clown. This person, this person, this person, this person. We have to do the group thing. We have to, attack.
Then we have to do individual character development for 8 individual characters, and then a couple are going to fall back. It was like if somebody offered to make you dinner, and they made you an amazing steak, and then that's all they gave you. And I feel like it is a really good steak, but I'm like, wait, there's some things that I was expecting to have on the side.
Can
here.
I get some taters?
This
with
doesn't feel like a complete meal, but what you prepared was very, very good.
Also, you're doing half of a 1,200-page book. The fact that they even did it in 2 parts makes me very happy. you almost could really do 3 movies or an extended mini series on this, a limited series. I think would have gone a little bit better. Much like I want them to do The Stand. The Stand cannot be done in a film.
Right.
Don't try.
No.
Unless it's like a 9-hour film, and
Right.
no theater is going to show that, and no studio is going to greenlight it.
Well, I don't know. Lord of the Rings did all right.
Well, at 3 hours?
Yeah,
Yeah.
3 hours apiece.
3
a
hours?
piece, and they were longer cuts too.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
people watched and
I know.
But Daniel was saying after we saw the first one that that a lot of things could be solved in the second part, but that now you're deciding whether the first one was a good movie based upon what they put in part 2.
Yeah,
I
it
see
has
what
to
you
stand on
Yeah.
it. It has to stand on its own, and maybe be enhanced by part 2 and flushed out with part 2. But you can't all right, let's put a placeholder in that. Don't cast judgment. 2 years later, we'll have the next film.
And some of those minor characters are not going to be able to be fleshed out. The
Right.
ones that they made, well, they were major characters, but they were minor in the movie.
yeah,
Right.
Right.
The Jewish kid, for example.
looking
we
at
know
you,
we're going to have a
Stan.
suicide attempt coming, but we didn't
Yes.
develop anything for that character.
Right.
Right,
And,
All
and
we know is he had a shitty bar mitzvah.
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a father with a horrible taste in office decor. What the hell was that about?
Dad's got his own issues. Dad's
No
really got
shit.
issues.
Well, the adults in Derry are kind of fucked up.
Oh.
Anyway.
What was it about? Was it no, not Bowers?
Yeah, Henry
it's-
Bowers.
No, the woman, the kid that dumped the stuff on Beverly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Her
the
father
pharmacist.
that runs that guy was just
Clark
like,
Kent.
I
You're
am
referring to
literally
Clark Kent.
1 second away from pedophilia. That whole
Yep.
scene that was creepier than anything in the entire
Yeah,
film.
yeah. That and and her father was
Right.
the
Wow.
creepiest things in the movie.
If I remember
Right. correctly,
who here has read the book at all?
I read the book, but I read it in like 95. I was in high school when I read it.
I have not read it.
Oh, okay.
If I recall correctly, he actually did incest was happening.
Yeah.
That
or
was happening.
molestation at least by the.
We can't say incest because that infers kind of like a mutual thing, perhaps. I don't know. Is
I
that
don't
the
know.
term?
I don't know, but yeah, there
Yeah.
is some abuse of sexual abuse.
Right. Instead of just being creepy and kind of touchy and overprotective, there was actual things.
Yeah,
going
it was
on.
alluded to in the film, but
Right.
never stated.
Which I think was fine. You don't have to go all the way down that.
No, you
road.
know exactly what.
No, I feel like, and that was a moment where I felt like their restraint really served the storytelling.
Absolutely.
Like they
Yeah.
told us as much as we needed to know about what was going on in that house. I feel like Bev is the only character where that was really the case.
Yeah.
And then with each of the other kids in the Losers Club, we either got one scene with a parent, or not at all.
Yeah, you got a tiny bit more. I think it was with Eddie,
With Eddie,
the hypochondriac. You got a couple of
You got his mother.
yeah,
right.
But I mean, did we even see Bill and Jordy's mother at all? We saw the father.
we saw her playing the piano.
piano.
That's right. That's
When
right.
he went
we did
down.
see the piano.
Yeah,
but
which
she
I thought
never
was a
spoke.
strange. I'm gonna have to reread the book because I'm sure there's a significance to that.
Maybe.
To her just sitting there
I
playing the
recently
piano.
read the opening of it because I was starting to read it, and just said she was playing that piano.
Really?
I don't know. The movie held pretty faithful to
Yeah, everyone's saying
that
it's
open
like
shot.
up until Georgie goes into the sewer, it's pretty much a shot for shot, remake of the book.
Yeah.
And at that point, it goes off. And
Yeah.
goes elsewhere.
As is the 1990 miniseries, which is really interesting because then, and there are a lot of scenes that are very, very faithful to the book in both the film and in the TV miniseries, and you get this odd side-by-side comparison that, for me, really highlights how amazing the casting of these kids in the 2017 film is.
Yeah, let's speak about that
Yeah.
because the kids.
I
are,
hate child actors. I am a screenwriter by profession, and I hate child actors. I do not hate children. I adore children. But, if I worked at a factory, I wouldn't want a kid at that job either.
Right, exactly. Now, I have an opinion about who was the weakest actor in the Losers Club.
Ooh.
Ooh, huh?
Well, hold on, and I will create an opinion on that subject.
Does anybody have an opinion? I mean, in my opinion, the entire Losers Club cast was either neutral, like okay, competent, or fucking amazing. But one stood out as like, eh.
I had a favorite. I didn't have a least favorite.
All right, well, who was your favorite?
I liked Eddie. I just thought he was a funny kid.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely.
I think Finn, the kid who
Finn.
played
Richie.
had the best moment in the movie.
Well, he was the comic relief.
Yeah, the best line and the best moment in the movie.
I mean, Danny can attest to this. No one else in the theater when we saw it, except for me, when he did, and now I'm going to have to kill this fucking clown. I was like, yeah! And nobody, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, that was a moment.
So
Right.
who do you feel is the weakest?
Stan.
Yeah, well, he didn't have much.
The screenplay
just-
gave him nothing
just-
to work with.
yeah.
He's afraid of a painting that plays the flute.
Yeah.
And he's struggling with learning Hebrew for his bar mitzvah. And that is kind of the extent of that character.
Yeah, I thought it was a script issue,
Yeah.
definitely.
And
sure, yeah.
Now, granted, like this Sophia Lillis that played Beverly, I don't know where this kid came from. I don't know if she's
gonna be
one of those
huge.
Disney types or whatever, but it was like seeing young Jennifer Jason Leigh or
Absolutely,
young
yeah.
Jodie Foster,
Yeah.
where it's like, all right, and I'll settle in because you're with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Little,
This is
little
her,
Jennifer
this is
Lawrence.
her,
yeah.
like, her
Yeah.
candle shoe.
Yeah.
Or whatever, her young... Her,
Winter's Bone. Yeah. Blowing up. Yeah.
Yeah, she's fantastic, and you cannot take your eyes off her when she's on screen. I thought she
Much
was
like the rest of the
brilliant.
Losers Club.
Yeah, much like the rest of the Losers Club. Which, like, yes, like, in a screenplay that I felt was problematic for that character in many areas, I will defend that scene of all of them at the quarry watching her sunbathing and her being so comfortable in her own skin and all of the boys being, gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Because that is the experience of being an 11-year-old boy versus an 11-year-old girl. And boys are stupid assholes that can't, that have no game.
Yeah. Especially at 11 or 12. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or at 33, 40s, pretty much until death.
Yeah.
Best you can hope for is somebody to take pity on you and just go, all right,
All right.
fine.
I'm grateful for it.
So, your favorite character was Eddie.
Definitely.
Definitely?
I just like that kid. I was like, I don't want him to get in any trouble with
Gray water.
Pennywise.
Hashtag gray water. Gray water, gray water, gray
Gray
water.
water, gray water, gray water.
It's funny, when we left the theater yesterday, I said to Michael, the only thing about Eddie that bothered me is he reminded me so much of Mike TV from Willy Wonka.
Oh, funny.
I was like,
Yeah.
he looks just like him and he sounds just like him, but I just can't get it out of my head for the whole movie. I don't know why.
I can see that now.
I thought the update to 1989 and making them very 1989 kids was done shockingly well.
Yeah.
Um,
And it was required.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no way they could do
I mean, they could have done it. They could have done it with the 50s to the
70s,
you know what?
but then it's a
It
complete
wouldn't-
period piece.
Yeah.
And I have a theory about that, other than just being a general good idea. The book came out in 86.
Okay.
The people that read it in 86 are now the people that remember the 80s as their childhood.
Yeah.
So the book and their childhood is all tied up in the mid to late 80s, and the film takes place in the mid to late 80s
Yeah.
in that period of time. It's a very smart move. I don't know if that was into consideration when they were doing that, but getting it away from the 50s, and of course if you did it in the 50s, you'd have to do what King did. What did Pennywise scare the kids with in the 50s? Frankenstein, Mummy. That's Universal. Castle Rock's not going to get the rights to that. They're not Steven Spielberg. They're not going to license the crap out of everything, and then
Right.
so
We have all this nostalgia now too with Stranger Things and just wanting the 80s to come back. It was such a fun time, and I feel that Stephen King was big in the 80s, and that's what I said to Topher after we saw it, was that this was the first Stephen King movie in a long time that felt like the Stephen King movies that we
That
grew
felt
up
like a
with.
Stephen King
Yes.
book. Yeah.
And that translated well enough.
I mean, I can count on probably 3 fingers the number of Stephen King horror adaptations on film that hold up and are decent.
Go.
And Shining. Now, it's kind of,
but it's not.
It's a riff
It's
on
its own
his book.
thing.
it's
Yeah.
a riff
Yeah.
because it's not, you know.
King
it's,
was offended.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
he hated it.
Yeah, we all saw his vision realized with Steven Weber,
Weber.
and
We did.
Rebecca De Mornay,
We sure did.
and the kid from the juice commercials. So we know what Steven's vision for that movie was, and shockingly, Stanley Kubrick had a more complete cinematic vision.
Absolutely. My biggest disappointment with The Shining was, you know, as a kid, I had already read the book. I had actually been banned from reading, or at least from doing any more book reports on Stephen King novels in junior high school, because I had done like all the required and then extra credit book reports to the point where the teacher went, "You're done. No more Stephen King. You can do a book report on anything other than
Anything
Stephen
else."
King." So I read a book called Satan by Jeremy Levin, and that really...
Oh yeah.
I made him real happy.
Yeah.
But the thing that disappointed me about seeing the film, I mean, I was riveted by the thought of this being on the screen. And I finally came out on home video, watched it. I wanted the topiary to come alive.
Yeah.
Yes,
And it
instead of the
didn't.
hedge maze.
And I was like, motherfucker, you know, which of course then we got.
But then the ABC miniseries
With kind
gave you
of
the topiary.
crappy CGI in the, yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I think the best adaptations are not even the.
They're not the horror films.
The horror films.
Stand By Me.
Shawshank Redemption.
Dolores
and
Claiborne.
the
Dolores Claiborne.
Yes.
Love that
I need
movie.
I need to revisit that.
I have
Because I think
not.
I've
It's
seen
great.
it once.
I love that movie
I'll
so
see
much.
anything with Jennifer Jason
One of my
Leigh.
favorites.
I think that's my favorite Stephen King adaptation. I mean, maybe Shawshank, but like it's between those two. Yeah, I think it's actually Dolores. Like I have intentionally watched Dolores more times. Shawshank just, you know, is always on.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
like
you
it's
can't get
on
away from it.
right now.
Yeah, it is.
And,
Without a doubt.
But I've definitely sought out more viewings of Dolores Claiborne than any other
Is it
King.
that's Kathy Bates.
Kathy
correct?
Bates and
Okay,
Jennifer
I'm not
Jason Leigh
so- I'm not.
and Christopher
Jennifer-
Plummer
I'll see anything with Jennifer Jason Leigh.
and a young John C. Reilly.
Oh, really?
Okay.
He's a lot older than you think he is.
Yeah.
He's been around for a long
They
time.
are doing. Netflix is about to release an adaptation of Gerald's Game.
Yes, the trailer for that looks amazing. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh God!
A buddy of mine was reading it one summer, and like every time I saw him, he was like, "I swear, more pages show up in this book as I'm reading it. It gets longer as I'm reading it. I can't get away from this book."
Gerald's Game scared me off of certain types of kink play that I have never attempted because of Gerald's Game. The whole idea of like tie me up and do whatever you want to me, Gerald's Game ruins that for you.
Yeah.
That's
So-
a big nope.
Yeah, so just be forewarned. Like, you know, if you're into that, don't read Gerald's Game because it'll scare you off something you really enjoy.
What about you? Favorite character?
Favorite character? I think Richie. I think he just. I think he was just that funny. I really thought the kid who played Bill. Like I think we can say that Beverly is the top of the heap. She's the best actor in the movie. But I think the kid who played Bill was really good.
Yeah.
as well.
There was a grounding to the way he came across. I mean, like everyone else, like, what? We're gonna have to go there? Like, oh, where'd Bill go? Oh,
Right.
he's already on Neibold Street.
Yeah,
Holy shit!
Yeah.
You know.
and the stutter didn't seem
Forced.
or fake. It was underplayed enough that it made.
And to find a 12-year-old actor that can convincingly play grief.
yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
That's a really, really complicated human emotion for a young actor to portray, and I thought he was great. Yeah,
And-
love the kids. Casting was spot on for the kids.
Yeah.
Luckily, that's the film. Everyone else is kind of a bit player to kind of.
Can we talk about Eddie's mom?
What the? Was she under a lot of prosthetics?
What was her body?
right in
what
the
was
chair.
her body?
Yeah.
And
I was like, why is this woman in a fat
it's,
suit?
yeah, it looks like a skinny actress put in a fat suit with weird prosthetics, and she looked constantly like Bella Thorne in the sense that she was always sweaty.
Yeah.
She had this layer
was-
of like she's sitting in a Barca lounger watching TV and probably has been there for the last 3 hours, and she has a glisten to her like she's been sweating the whole time.
She's creepy. I thought like his mom would be more well-to-do.
well, even I mean, his mom in the book. I mean, they are firmly working class, but I was trying to like justify in my mind because obviously like the production design on this film is on point, and I'm like, are you as the filmmakers trying to give me like a skewed perception of a child in the way they view adults? Because a lot of women in the film were noticeably played by women of size. You know, the librarian in the library, even the backup librarian in the library, the one that doesn't talk to him but is smiling in the background as he's reading the book.
Yes.
They're all noticeably like larger women, and particularly in a Hollywood release, that's really noticeable.
Yeah.
If you had women that are just average sized populating a movie, it would be really noticeable.
Right.
But Eddie's mom, her body looked fake to me. It looked like they were intentionally crafting something unrealistic.
I have a theory
Go for it.
about that, and the other adults are made to look just a little off center. I mean, the pharmacist, there was something about
he
his
looked kinda
complexion.
plastic and-
Exactly. And I think that is a part of that was intentional to make all the adults either
doing
just
kid goggles.
yeah,
maybe.
just to make them
Maybe?
look just a little off. Like you're familiar with the concept of the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
We're gonna take them just on the other side of that valley, and where you're like, something's not right here, but you don't know what it is. And I think that might have been. I really want to get into the DVD extras and stuff, and hear from some of the production designers and the makeup artists, and see, was that an intentional thing? Because if it was just one character, maybe two, I'd be like, all right. But it's almost all the adults that are either like that or just these resigned to, my kid's gone.
Yeah.
Sad sacks that are just, ciphers for
Or they're like
nothing.
the sheriff and they're effing monster.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I want to get that switchblade that has enough power when you hit the button to go straight into a neck.
through a skull.
Wow, that was an impressive. That's an impressive knife there.
I would feel more secure in life having that knife. See what I can do about that.
Okay, let's talk Bill Skarsgård. Do we have Pennywise issues? How do we feel?
I liked Pennywise. I wish they had done more that they did with the opening, with just that slow burn of him just kind of talking to him and being kind of just
I loved how
creepy and just
insidious
little...
he was in the opening scene.
Yeah, it seemed like they were constantly trying to make him jump out.
Yeah,
Where
and
he
I
was just
liked the
creepy and
seductive
off-putting.
quality
Right.
of
Yeah.
how he was pulling Georgie in.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't just like, hey, what are you doing? And got him. I think that they paced that just fine. What I was not prepared for was the losing of the arm and him crawling. What's it?
Oh my God!
They
right?
went there.
Yes.
That is a child that has been, delimbed.
Yeah.
And he's bleeding out and running away. I'm like, wow.
I love when they go there in movies and they just kill the children. I know that makes me horrible, but I do. I'm just like, yes.
If the story demands it, and if there's any story ever told in film that demands it, it's this one.
Yeah.
It's about killing children.
Yeah, this is a movie about terrorizing children.
Right. Pennywise feeds mostly on fear. You're not going to get as much, you'll get adults going, what the fuck? Kids are going, ah! And it's like, delicious fear. Kind of like Cartman, oh, your tears are sweet. Oh, let me lick them. Oh, I thought he was fine. I thought he was just fine.
It's one of those. I think it's one of those like double-edged sword roles, because Tim Curry is kind of iconic to a lot of people.
Yeah,
and
but
if
his Pennywise talked like a longshoreman.
well, he talks like,
"Hiya, Georgie," and
beat Richie.
yeah,
and I think Skarsgård couldn't, like, no matter what he did, he was going to be compared. So
Yeah.
he kind of just did his own.
I loved
thing.
his body. I loved his body. He's clearly,
It's like a rag doll.
an
Yeah.
experienced physical performer, and he's so freaking tall and lanky. I
Right.
think he's like 6'4" in real life, and just the way his appendages moved.
Yep.
Especially how he came out of that out of
of the refrigerator.
out of the refrigerator in the house. Like, that's pretty good, Bill. Well done. Maybe a little.
Maybe he had a little help on
little
that one.
CGI.
There
What
was
is
head spun around.
There were some really, really, really cool horror movie shots. My favorite shot of the whole movie is when they're in Pennywise's lair and the thing opens up and Bev is, and he's dancing.
The fire effect.
Well, no. Him dancing side to side.
Yeah.
His head is in
that
focus,
head
and everything else is
Yes,
lanky
exactly.
and weird.
That was the thing
That
I was
was
looking forward to
amazing.
the most, because as soon as that look, it's almost like his head was stationary and everything else was just going
like
crazy.
fluid and weird. Yeah, they
That
did
was
some
fantastic.
really cool, creepy shit.
You
like
know
that.
what wasn't a special effect was that wandering eye.
Is it?
That's
not?
him.
Is that really him?
And
Really?
when he auditioned for it, he like popped out the contact lens and was like, "Got something to add to this if you want it."
Because that was creepy as shit. I
Yeah,
was like,
that
they must have
one-
CG'd that.
like when it would just start drifting to the right.
Yeah, they were never. I don't think they were the same color twice in the same movie, but but they were all kinds of cockeyed the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Then,
That
of
was
course, we had
amazing.
the scene where he goes from being Georgie to back to being Pennywise, and the eyes come from the side and come in
Yes.
and pop yellow, and you're like, oh.
Man, I wish I had some random physical characteristic I could just pop out like that. Frances Conroy has that too. The mom from 6 Feet Under.
Yeah?
She did American Horror Story. How many seasons did she do,
Oh, at
Daniel?
least.
Three,
She's been in all the
4?
seasons, I think.
Not
Up
this
until,
one.
not the last 2, I guess. No, she was
She
in the last
usually
one.
has a part
Yeah.
here or there.
Sometimes
and-
he gets her in for a day to do like one thing just so she can say, I was in it.
Yeah, she wears a corrective lens, but in the first season of American Horror, when she played the character that had been shot in the eye,
Oh, yeah.
and she had that
Laura.
one milky
The
eye.
maid, I think.
Yeah, that's
That's
her
her
real eye.
Wow.
Like, man, I wish I had some screwed up physical trait I could
Yeah.
offer up
It's
like
like
that.
Jim
I can
Carrey's
poke your
joke.
eye.
Yeah, Jim
Oh,
Carrey's.
thank you.
Jim Carrey's got that busted front tooth too
Yep.
that he'll pop off for the Dumb and
For
Dumber
Dumb and
movies,
Dumbers.
You know,
Oh, that's not. No, I
that's
did
his real tooth.
I
yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So what do we think about Pennywise's lair? That's
I like that a lot. I really enjoyed the
the
floating,
actual floating. Now
yeah.
you saw it recently. There was no floating down there in the 1990s one.
No.
It was like a metaphor.
Right.
Here we have the floating.
Yeah.
Now I have a question. Oh, the kids, they're coming down.
I know where you're going with this.
And then cut to a month later. I'm forgetting parts like, kids are what the hey, and didn't you just kill your dad? And
Yeah.
didn't you just what?
Well, they brought Bev back, so one's to wonder, did the other kids come back to life?
Did they run
or-
around kissing everybody? Like,
yeah.
I mean, Ben's kiss can
Look,
clearly
January
bring them
Look,
out.
January
yeah, just,
Look,
yeah, just running around.
I have a feeling that because she was not afraid and was fighting, he put her. He
I
kind
think that's very judgmental of the other floating children. You don't know their story.
you don't know my life.
You don't know their life. You
yeah,
don't know.
that's something that it's entirely possible that.
Or maybe they'd had time up there floating to think about their fear, work through it.
talk to each other, kind of have a little.
Right.
We're gonna float over here for session.
Yeah, so is the rule with the kiss that it's like someone, it doesn't have to be the love of your life, it just has to be someone who is in love with you?
True love's
I
kiss.
was just
So, like-
waiting for them all to burp.
Yeah.
Yeah, have some fizzy lifting drinks. Ha, ta, ta, ta.
Bev, burp, Bev.
Now, I have heard from a few sources that in part 2, we are still going to have the kids
Yeah.
because they're going to flash back, and
Right.
something tells me that some of these questions, these unanswered things,
Like what happened when there was a pile of dead bodies surrounding them in the
exactly,
sewer?
all this stuff, we're going to find out about that.
Also, man, they really were not exploring those sewers very effectively, looking for the hundreds of missing people.
Yeah. No.
I mean, those kids found it within 20 minutes.
Yeah, Babe Ripson's shoe, less than 20 feet from the opening to the fucking
Well,
sewer.
they said I mean, in his research, Ben said that it, and in the book, I think I remember they said that the adults just kind of gloss over things, and they don't like the adults are kind of like under the spell in a different way. You know, they're not being pulled in; they're being kind of pushed away
I
so that he
would
can
buy
suck in
that.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what was missing for me is I wanted more of Derry and the adults. I wanted more of the environment.
If that's the case, that's fascinating. Tell us that part of the story.
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
Which brings me back to Eddie's mom, because I think Eddie's mom and her Munchausens of convincing Eddie that he had every physical ailment in the universe was her version of trying to keep him safe.
Right. Maybe.
That if you convince your kid that you're not healthy enough to interact with the world, then you'll never encounter danger.
Right.
And in that moment, when he finally says, you know, these are gazebos, she says, but I tried to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And it's this like little moment of human authenticity, which means she had enough awareness of the risk in the town to try and keep him safe. I just don't understand why they weren't looking in the damn sewers.
I think another...
Especially Bill and George's freaking dad, who had a sewer map at his office, which means he works for Public Works.
At the very least...
What the hell,
let's
Dad?
find his body.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you resign yourself to these dead, but let's give him a decent burial.
Yeah.
I have a suspicion that the reason they didn't flesh out the town more or the parents more than they did is just due to runtime.
Maybe.
Or maybe we're going to get more parents in flashbacks, although
you need more.
the
no,
time
you need the
the time to
story.
do parents was this film.
Yeah.
If you're going to do any flashbacks in part 2, which they're going to, it's all the kids stuff, maybe from different perspectives, like, you know, like in a Tarantino film where, like, I've seen this before. Oh, but it's from the other guy's perspective.
Yeah.
We may see something from Pennywise's perspective or the other kid or whatever.
It just would have been good if the parents were a little varied in their responses. Everyone's a creepy parent. I don't know.
In one way or another.
Right, yeah.
And it goes back to Daniel's initial theory from the first viewing of it, of you can't let the second movie be what justifies the first movie.
Right. Because if it
Kill
doesn't
Bill
make it,
Volume 1 stands on its own,
Yeah.
even though you know the story is going to continue.
Absolutely.
right.
Or if you saw Kill Bill Volume 2 without having seen Volume 1, you're still getting a complete cinematic experience.
Right.
You have a
You
story.
want to
with a
see
big-
one.
Yeah,
Bad.
then you really want to see one. Like, how the hell did this happen?
I'm still waiting for the whole bloody affair to come out on Blu-ray, together with the extended animation and the whole bit. Not yet, though.
I still believe in a part 3. I still believe in a part 3.
Nicky.
Yeah.
Nicky, he said that, you know, his vague idea is Nicky's going to grow up and go, let's find Beatrix.
Exactly.
So
I think that'd be brilliant.
We'll see if Tarantino finds Uma Thurman's feet as sexy for part 3 as he did. He's got a foot
Just
thing.
take care of your
cute,
toes, Uma.
cutie.
We'll get you some work if you take care of your toes.
Yeah.
Now I had read in for part 2 of it there, which I would like them to do. They're going to get more into Pennywise's head because they in the book, Pennywise has many different incarnations, and it doesn't it call himself Robert Gray? It has its own like identity. Of
there's
outside
another
of
name.
the creepy clown.
He's allowed to have a life outside of work.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I've been killing kids for 10 hours, man. Can I have some fucking downtime?
Robert Gray needs some me time.
If I gotta kill one more kid today. But I think that would be fascinating to do that because to make it from just a monster in a sewer to, why it's doing it. And the book gets real weird kind of near the end.
Well, it goes into the astral plane. It goes to, talking turtles and rituals of Chud and all sorts of stuff. How they attack that, don't know. They kept away from the, for lack of a better term, the ethereal in this one. It's just more straightforward horror film.
Yeah, and the only little glimpse of that we got is when Pennywise opened his mouth completely and you saw the deadlights.
The deadlights.
And
Yeah.
that's it.
Which I always thought it was only 2 deadlights, but there was 3 in there. I thought it was only 2 deadlights.
That's a very good point.
But there,
I don't remember.
We'll see.
Because the deadlights always look
Well,
like
he's been
eyeballs.
eating a lot of children, so maybe he's put on a deadlight.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
It happens. You gotta
He needs to work out more,
Well, children are so obese nowadays.
Exactly. The kids I was eating back when the Easter egg hunt, they were so lean.
Yeah,
but
now the milk
these
has
kids just-
hormones in it.
Yeah.
They just play video games.
I had
They
to
don't-
eat 150 kids before I slumbered. Now 2 or 3, and I'm good for 27 years. Nom 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 nom.
Goodness.
Casting for part 2. The only name I've heard is, hey, maybe Amy Adams could be Beverly Marsh grown up.
They talked to all the kids, and the girl playing Beverly said Jessica Chastain, Jessica Chastain, Jessica Chastain.
And that's who Andy Machete said as well, the
Oh,
director.
good.
And he do a film with her?
Yeah, he
did
really
something
wants
with
Jessica
her.
Chastain.
I
for
think,
it.
and actually, I think Sophia Lillis actually was the young version of either Amy Adams or
She's the young version of Amy Adams in oh hell,
was it?
Let It Go and It'll Come to Me.
Okay.
But she looks like Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Yeah. Like you have to explain Bev's nose job if she grows up to become Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, Amy Adams has that nose
Yeah.
already.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. You can't really do anything with it.
And I saw they talked to the kid who played Richie, and he said his idea would have Seth Green play him because Seth Green is
Was
about the
one of the
same height,
kids.
and he was one of the kids in the original
In the
miniseries.
1990s.
He played Richie in the original miniseries.
Seth Green did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to see this.
He has been around forever.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
You think it's like maybe he's like
22.
what, early to mid 30s? No, he's 75.
Yeah,
And he looks great.
yeah.
Oh, Robot Chicken blood keeps
I
him
know.
young.
We can't get Jonathan Brandis. That's a shame. He was in the original. He was the original Bev.
All right, that's it. I need to watch it again. If for no other reason, just to see all the stars that you've mentioned.
Yeah,
and
just the circus of the stars available in the 1990 version alone.
the only scene that I remember from watching that, other than the initial curry in the sewer, was they're all in the library and balloons just pop blood, and they're
Yeah.
just like,
And everybody thinks, right, I'm
nothing's
working.
happening, and yeah, kind of like
bathroom.
Beverly's bathroom.
Yeah.
you know?
That was
The
insane.
adults can't see it.
That was quite the effect.
I rather like the 24 feet down.
Oh yeah, down the drain.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's not how drains work. I have one of those. Several.
Oh, you'd think there'd be a turn in the pipe or something.
Exactly.
You Ben.
So what are we hoping for part 2? Those of us who have and have not read the book may have different hopes and expectations.
Daniel, what do you think?
I'd like it to be a little darker this time. If they're going to be adults, I feel like the attacks on their mental well-being are going to have to be really dark, and maybe it's going to delve into all that stuff that's just kind of hinted at.
Hey, maybe we're finally going to get the orgy. It's like, well, we're all in our 40s now, but you know what? Let's do this.
Oh, an orgy with a bunch of people in their 40s. It's like,
That
like
won't-
one's
that will
too
not
early and the other's too late.
I just hope, no offense to the actors that were in the original, but I just hope they're a little bit more lively than the cast of 1990. Like, that is just an oddball. I mean, I know we got Ritter in there, and he's a good actor, but, like, in that
He was
movie...
ordinarily a good actor, yeah.
In that movie, they all just kind of come together, and I just couldn't care about
Oh, man.
anything.
Oh, Killer Clown's back? Yeah, okay. That's,
Yeah. And
Yeah, they're also like, whatever.
I mean, God bless Annette O'Toole, but she was the grown-up Bev in the miniseries, and it's just like, you can't give a shit about that woman if you tried.
And I usually do care, but I just felt like she was pitiful.
Now you're talking about Superman's girlfriend.
I
His
am
mother.
aware.
His girlfriend. His mother.
Yeah.
His girlfriend.
Yeah, his fake girlfriend, like not the real one. And that's kind of
Is
the
she
Annette
Mrs. St.
O'Toole
Hubbins
problem.
as well?
Is she?
I believe she is. I think she's married to Michael McKean.
Oh, I don't know.
Eh?
All I know is that she was it Lana
was
Lang
Lana,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Reeves film, and then she played Clark's mom in Smallville.
Smallville, yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
What a variably funny household they must live in.
Other than Tim Curry, the only one I showed up for was Livia Hussey.
Oh gosh, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
She's in the
She
the
is.
miniseries.
She's
She's the
Bill's
girlfriend
wife, or
or his
girlfriend.
wife.
I can't
Maybe.
remember. I don't know what their status
wasn't,
is.
yeah.
I really don't.
That's Juliet from the original.
Yes.
And Black Christmas.
Yeah, Black Christmas.
Christmas. Nice.
And Psycho 4 at the beginning.
Good call. She was the original Norma Bates.
Sorry, Vera.
Sorry, Vera Farmiga. Olivia Hussey beat her to the punch.
I can't imagine that she was better than.
Now I just want to track the number of characters Olivia Hussey has played that then were remade by someone else.
Wow.
I mean, Juliet obviously has been played by several people.
Yeah,
one or two, yeah.
But Norma Bates, she was Beverly. Now somebody's going to outdo her on that. Oh, now I worry.
So Topher, what
She
are you
was
looking?
empath.
What are you looking forward to for part 2? What would you like to see?
What
Having not read the book, what are your thoughts?
I hope that that there is some kind of exploration of the pathology that adults have in that town. There's an opportunity there when they return to the town as adults, that if they start experiencing whatever it was that made every adult in that town kind of have that not my department attitude, if they start as adults falling victim to what their parents were experiencing, that could be really, really interesting. There is a really great commentary in the book on the apathy of adulthood,
Or at least the perception of apathy by children.
Yeah, and adults not seeing children as having real problems.
Yeah.
And that separation between the two and the inability to really understand the stakes that the other side is experiencing. If the second film can find a way to embrace that to, justify some of the choices they made in the first film, then it'll feel like he was holding the reins tighter on the first film than right now I suspect he was.
Okay.
Also, and we haven't really discussed it, but the characterization of Bev in this movie is really problematic. And I'm going to need to see her having some more personal agency in the second film. And maybe acknowledge some of the problems with her representation in the first.
As far as her reputation.
Why is she the one that has to be rescued? Why, out of everybody, is she the one that has to be rescued? Why does she have to be rescued with a kiss?
Yeah.
What the hell? At the end of the day, they try to set up this girl that has personal agency, and yet they change a scene from the book where Eddie's the sick one, right?
Yeah.
Or the one everybody thinks is sick.
Yeah.
Eddie fakes a medical emergency for them to steal the medical supplies to fix up Ben after Henry carves the H in him.
Right.
And they changed that in the movie to Bev flirting with the pharmacist and this girl using kind of inappropriate underage sexuality to get her way. Why? What is gained from doing that? And then you do have the scene at the quarry where all of the boys are, kind of openly objectifying her, which if that's the only thing that happened, I would have no issue with it, but it becomes consistently problematic in the movie. And then she has to be rescued, and she's seen as a sexual object by her father. She's accused of being overly sexual by the girls in school. I don't understand why we needed to take the character in that direction for the benefit of the story.
Right. If it was written that way in the book, all right, you're being true to the book, but you changed it.
Right.
What? I mean,
in these enlightened times.
If
and it's in a summer that started with Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we go back to this damsel in distress having to be rescued. It was my biggest problem with the script for this movie.
Yeah,
I don't understand why the boys had to rescue her. Why couldn't, Eddie or Richie or Mike or Stan?
Or why couldn't...
Yeah, give Stan something to do. Let Stan be the one floating in the air.
Yeah, exactly.
And why couldn't she rescue somebody?
Yeah, exactly.
I did notice that when Bill said, we got to go to Nebo, go, she was the first one to go, yep, and follow along.
Absolutely.
Or
through the whole movie.
No, we've got to help him.
She throws the first rock in the rock war.
Exactly. Oh, I love that.
Good
scene.
for her. Love that scene.
Now, I would like to point out that either those children have unlimited bikes or nobody has a car in that town, because they just drop their bikes in the middle of streets everywhere they go. They don't even move it to the side.
How big was the town you grew up in?
Pretty big.
Okay, I was in a town of 4,000 people. Yeah, we left our bikes in the freaking street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it didn't have one of those establishing shots. It's very population 3,700.
Now we need to know the population.
But every time he's like,
I would have just gone for an establishing shot.
with bikes littered throughout the
exactly.
The only problem with the population sign is it would have to spin backwards all the time. Yeah. 37,000,
that
29,000.
If you lived in Derry, you'd be dead by now. Yeah.
Oh my god, the thing that that I didn't even remember as a memory until the movie went was 11 and 12-year-old kids in the late 80s talking about AIDS.
Yeah.
Wild speculation.
Yeah, the wild speculation of it, and
handrail.
kind of the like crazy boogeyman quality that like you're gonna get AIDS, and remembering like, oh my god, that's right.
That's how it was.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, people weren't listening to the calm, steady, rational leadership of Ronald Reagan on the AIDS crisis. Bullshit. Sorry. Yeah.
Madonna was telling us what to do.
Yeah.
Madonna said, "Wrap it up."
So what about you? Hopes for part 2? Problems with part 1 script?
I mean, I kind of agree with what's been said already. I see the point of that. I would like to see, we could get darker with Pennywise fucking with him, because it's not kids. We can go hardcore with it, and he went with a lot of blood in this movie, which was really cool. And like I said, I'd like to see the more the Robert Gray, like inside of Pennywise's head thing. I think it would be a really interesting turn on it. And to springboard of what Topher was saying, if they do, like when they come back to Derry, if they have to fight to remember and fight to keep on track and not get swallowed up in the whatever eats up the focus of adults in town, I think that would be really interesting if they have to like constantly remind themselves or do something to remember.
Right.
Like, we're here for this, not
and
just back in.
I think they're going to use the flashbacks
to do that
in the genius way they use in Orange is the New Black. Here's what's going on now. Here's what happened before that informs what's happening now, or why they're being like that. That also tells you more about what happened before.
Like if Eddie in
Got to give that to Lost, though.
Yeah,
Really
give it to
Lost.
Lost did it first.
if Eddie in his memories of his mother, or if he sees a photograph of his mother and she has a normal human body, I will eat every word of every critique I have ever had of this movie and say, all right, you're a freaking genius.
She was just bloated that summer.
Yeah,
Come on.
just like he remembers her as being this like massive mountain of like angst, that's always sweaty and disgusting.
Yeah.
And if then you look at a picture of her and it's just like Natalie Imbruglia was his mom. I have no idea why that's who I dredged up.
It's a weird pull, but okay.
I think she would have been great as the mom.
I'm sure she's available.
There could have been a song,
there
a
was
hit single.
Get me Natalie Imbruglia.
There was recently
for it
a big to-do. People their minds were blown when they found out that Torn was a cover song. It wasn't an original. And they went, oh my God, my entire childhood is destroyed now. I'm like, really? Okay, I didn't know Natalie meant that much to so many people.
That's really sad.
Outside of Australia.
Yeah.
Anyway, as for me,
I'm working through that.
I want them to definitely explore Pennywise origin story.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to address.
Do you really want it?
I do.
When you have gotten origin stories of the bad guy in the past, have you been satisfied with what they gave you?
Sometimes.
Freddy's dead. Jason goes to hell.
Michael
1,
Myers.
2,
Now,
and
now
3.
there's ways you can
The
handle
cult
origin.
of Michael Myers.
The cult of Michael Myers.
Yeah. I was wearing a Shatner mask and it was a little warm. It melted, and I said, you know what? I'm going to start killing fuckers. That's. I don't want the first half of the film to be just here's Pennywise, here's him in the cradle, here's him killing
Here's
his
his
first
bad
kid.
mom.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
But I want a little more about until his face opened up, you're like, okay, he's something else. He's not, you know, he's not an apparition. He's not a spirit. You know, there's something. He's a meat
creature.
Evil.
He's a tremor.
There's something. There's something going on there. And how we get from getting to, you know, Pennywise being back to how we defeat him.
Yeah.
My biggest problem with the miniseries, here it comes, that fucking spider.
Yeah.
It's the most evil thing in the world. Stab, stab, stab. Oh, and now it's dead. There we go. Big spider, we're done. Fuck that noise.
Actually, you know, the only moment in this where I did have a little "oh come on" was when the slideshow sequence that I thought was very effective became giant Pennywise filling up the garage.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that scene.
and I'm not giant Pennywise doesn't work for me. Didn't work for me in the garage, doesn't work for me in the lair. Giant Pennywise doesn't scare me. But I think it's just because I see giants. I see giants, and I just start thinking of logistics.
How does he fit? How does he fit in the thing?
Where do you live? How much do you eat? If you peed, like how much pee would that be?
You're the type of person that watches the Hulk, and you're like, "How come his clothes haven't ripped?"
Yeah, exactly. How do you have how do you have like cutoffs on? I don't understand it. Why does your shirt always come off and your pants never do?
One size fits all for the pants.
Yeah.
And where does he get his clown outfits tailored? I mean, he's been killing kids for what, a couple hundred years?
And it's a very dapper outfit.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's definitely more dapper than Tim Curry.
Yeah, for real.
Tim Curry's kind of like the truck driver clown.
Yeah.
Full on bozo, too.
Yeah, kind of bozo.
This is more
under
butler clown.
Yeah.
Like, oh, sir, would you like some murder?
No.
That's the best meme going around now. It's Pennywise, and it says, "You're not even scary," and then it's Ronald McDonald says, "I've killed more fuckers than you have."
Whoa,
well
hard
done.
truth.
Well done.
Whoa, hard truth. I like the ones that show Pennywise and the Babadook dating.
Yeah. They're a thing. Of course, there's the one where the question is, what would Pennywise have to offer or say to you to lure you down into the into the sewers?
Yes. You want to see Last Jedi? Yeah, I'm going.
Daniel?
What would Pennywise
I don't
have
know, just talking about the cotton candy and the fried dough and the popcorn.
You'd go down there for the popcorn.
Sounds good.
Yeah. There's only one answer for me. Down here, Trump isn't president.
Oh.
I mean, I dive headlong into
God.
the sewer.
Yeah, just eat me now.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. Speaking of which, like right after seeing It for the second time, I started reading What Happened.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, you're not so effing scary.
Now, where would you put the emphasis in what happened or what happened?
What happened? Like more just like waking from a bad dream and saying,
You know what? If we never
what
Scream, what happened?
if we never have another Republican president or majority in the House, it'll be worth 4 years of Donald Trump.
Or 2 years. 2 years is fine.
People
2
forget so quickly, though, and
just
they have
waiting.
that adult apathy thing like the It talks about. We're going to have another.
We are all the adults
Well,
in Derry.
8 years later, people go like, yeah, Bush wasn't so bad.
What's going to happen when
he
it's
is
Trump
a war
wasn't
criminal.
so bad? You know that one's going to come.
No,
Be
no,
a new
it
normal.
can't. It can't.
It will. It too.
It goes down the
too.
memory hole.
Oh, I mean, I have long ago since learned, like, do not ask how bad things can get.
Things couldn't get any
Because they'll
worse.
get worse than you imagine.
I said it ironically, so I should be
It's like,
okay.
oh, now the universe feels challenged.
So I've been telling Michael I think the deepest Easter egg. There's a lot of King Easter eggs in it, and you said I found the Pennywise one online, the Tim Curry one you were saying,
Oh, in the clown room?
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
in the clown room. I didn't see it in the film. I saw it online, so we just poked it out.
And Henry's car
Henry's car
is the car with T-tops from Sleepwalkers.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
The one of the kids' shirts is a Plymouth Fury, so it's Christine.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I read a bunch of them, but the one I caught no one put down. One of Henry Bauer's gang. the not Patrick.
Is it
Patrick's the one that dies.
Patrick, the other one, the heavyset kid.
Belch Higgins?
Yeah. He right after the beginning scene in the schoolyard, they when the cops run him off and he's walking away, he turns around and his shirt on the back says "Follow Me or Die," and it's an Anthrax shirt. And "Follow Me or Die" is the chorus to a song and also the title track of an album called Among the Living. Among the Living is based on The Stand.
That is a
Deep cut.
Dude.
I was like, that has to be intentional. That has to be intentional.
Wow.
Yeah, and that song says based on the brilliant novel by Stephen King, The Stand. And I was like, as soon as it clicked in, I heard the song because I love that album, and it was like "Follow Me or Die," and I was like, wait, that's the one about The Stand. Whoa.
See, I like it when they put stuff in films for the aficionados that really have no bearing for people who don't know.
Yeah, right.
It's just a decision that means nothing to them, but for a select few, they're sitting there going, "Oh my God!" I love that.
I guess the I Heart Dairy balloon was based off of a gay character that had
character in
a
the
shirt or
Yeah.
something.
That got
Which-
pushed off the bridge.
So
Yeah.
he was beaten, and the guy who beat him was wearing an I Heart Dairy hat.
Okay.
I think is what it was.
And it was the last thing he saw as he was falling. I don't need to demonstrate that.
No one will see
As he
you.
was sorry. For the listeners at home, I
Sounded
showed
great.
what falling is. It was the
Awfully
last
bridge.
thing he saw as he fell.
Yeah.
But of course, also in the book, Henry and Patrick had fooled around a little bit, which was one of Henry's little attendant demons.
Yes.
And we'll see if that comes into play in
Because
the
Henry
sequel.
Bowers is in a couple of King books from what I remember. I think he's
Was
in
he?
there, or someone Bowers is in. There's a
His universe gets so freaking extended. It's
Yeah.
so hard to
Yeah.
keep up.
yeah.
It's like you finish the book and go, "Oh crap, I didn't put any Easter eggs in." Let me go back. Salem's Lot. There's very good. There we go. It's all connected now.
yeah, it's all the Dark Tower. It's all because of the Dark Tower.
I don't know if we're going to get any more Bowers in part 2.
We will.
You think so?
We have to. He's the living villain in the adult years.
He is. He survived that
He fell down the hole.
ish.
Yeah.
He goes down the well, but fortunately, there's friends to make down the well. Oh.
God, I need to reread the. I need. To,
Well, you got 2 freaking years.
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like they can crank this out in a weekend.
And I have a very strong suspicion because this thing made so much money that
Stand By Me remake, Silver Bullet remake.
I
Sometimes
think
they
we're
come
gonna
back
see
remake.
Maximum Overdrive remake.
I think we're going to see them pad out some of the childhood scenes for the flashback. Here's my big prediction for the sequel, that there isn't just a part 2. There's going to be a part 2 and a part 3. And part 3 will be the final standoff.
Oh, I think part 4 will be the final.
Yeah, they're gonna totally.
Do we have part 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, this
I wouldn't be
thing,
surprised, yeah.
you could print money on this thing. It's broken every box office record imaginable for the genre. I think they would be, they'd be foolish to just
And I also
have
noticed
one
they
more.
didn't announce part 2.
Yeah.
And I think they got cold feet when Dark Tower tanked. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't think they're the same, but it's
Different audience, but
different
same.
audience, but
Right.
King property.
Right.
And
Yeah.
King properties have not
Well,
really.
And Dark Tower is the movie everyone's been asking for 25 years,
Right.
as opposed to It, which nobody was really like, when are you going to remake It?
Yeah.
And then you do, and it's like, whoa.
right.
But there's actually a huge cult following I found for it, especially in 1990. The kids.
Is it really?
Well,
yeah,
explain
they-
your side business real quick.
So I do horror enamel pins, and Pennywise is up there with Jason and Freddy
Really?
with the pin collectors. Which it's weird for us, I think, of people that are a few years older, because
I'm
for
sorry,
us,
where do you sell these enamel pens?
I sell them on Etsy.
What's the name of the shop?
The Sally H Collection. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah.
But
We got a wedding to pay for, people.
yeah. But it's funny because for me, 83 baby here, for me it was always Freddy and Jason and Leatherface, and Pennywise was kind of this made-for-TV horror movie clown, but for this new generation, he's kind of lumped in with all of them.
When I was 11 years old, Tim Curry as Pennywise scared the bejesus out of me.
I wasn't too terrified.
I found him a little funnier than scary, but I had read the book and like 4 years previous, so I knew a good half of what was in that book could never be done on broadcast television. I knew the orgy scene. Let's address the orgy scene.
Let's address the orgy in the room, guys.
Okay. I think they made a very smart decision. There's no point in having it in the film. I understand what King was trying to do when he wrote it. During the course of when we were watching it, I thought, all right, they're going to do something, but it'll be first kiss. That will be what holds them together. It won't be.
I like the blood oath.
The blood.
The blood oath was the way to do it.
And the director said that the blood oath was supposed to be.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he said that was his. He wanted to do what King was trying, was doing with that scene and modernize it in a less.
It just makes more sense.
Yeah, well, and King.
And then they're sharing.
Yeah, King, when he was writing the book, the whole idea was this was the moment that separates childhood from adulthood.
Right.
And that
he wanted the bridge.
Yeah, and that the sexual encounter is going to bond them all together for life because clearly you're not going to forget that day.
And perhaps they already knew that the forgetting was something that was going to happen.
Right. And this would prevent them
they needed
from
that
forgetting.
flag in their timeline just to be able to hold on to that anchor,
right,
to be able to come back to and start remembering what came around it.
But I love all of the idea of all of them having the same scar on their hands when they come back together 27 years later.
And did you notice who was the only person, in my opinion, that when they got cut, didn't even flinch?
Bev.
That's right. She was just like, do it.
Yeah.
Because I think he was more gentle with her, though. He really dug into those his guy friends.
Don't think I didn't forget what you said, Richie. Yeah, you can sew that finger back on. No problem.
But I love because there's so many kids. I was giggling because you got to watch like 6 kids perform the same. Oh God, that hurt.
Yeah,
oh God,
exactly.
that hurt. Oh God, that hurt.
The
Oh God,
variable
that hurt. I'm like,
reactions.
can we just cut it? Like, we know that they're all gonna get
We
cut.
get it.
And of course, the kiss between Bill and Bev, and as she took her hand away,
bloody
the big
fan-
blood,
Which I was waiting to see if it was. I was so proud that there was.
That
Because a
there
lot of
did
times
it, yeah.
they don't, and I was like, he's supposed to have some blood on his face.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was glad that he
they
did.
didn't clean it up.
Yes.
Yeah, and the foreshadowing of Stan being the first to leave the circle. Because I said that when I was like, isn't Stan the one who kills himself in the book? Because that's if I'm not mistaken, that's how the miniseries starts. Is Stan in the bathtub?
Yeah,
I think it starts actually because we were watching
that's
it.
part 2.
Yeah, I think it starts with you're in Derry and there's just been a kid that's been killed, and the African American character, I can't remember,
Mike.
is now
Mike.
the librarian.
He's a librarian and he's checking it out, and when he starts witnessing all these kids disappearing, he reaches out, and then you kind of go.
Okay.
Right. He's the one that stays behind in Derry. Everyone else leaves. Not as soon as Bev off to Portland right away.
Right.
Did
they change some of the characteristics of the characters between the movie and the book? I would have thought the heavier kid would have been the librarian.
No, not substantial. No. Ben grows up to be an architect asshole.
It's like Now and Then. They
It's
they
just
grow
like Now
up
and
to
Then.
be not what you think.
It is just like Now and Then. Melanie Griffith, Demi Moore, Rita Wilson.
You didn't know that
I
Christina
forget-
Ricci was going to grow
Was it
up to be Rosie O'Donnell.
There you go.
And Thora Birch grows up to be Melanie Griffiths. And I think I can do them all now. Gabby Huffman is going to be...
What are you doing? The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
No, this is Now and Then.
It's the
It
girls'
was a
version of
film.
Stand By Me.
Oh, okay.
Only without a dead body.
There was no dead body.
There was no dead body.
But there were
I think
a lot of
that's
dead
Now
feelings.
and Then's fatal flaw.
Dead feel.
Yeah.
A lot of you're dead to me.
I did have one other thought, and this is not about the movie, but really about the actors that they brought into it. Bill was played by Jaden Lieberer. That's Jaeden. Richie was played by Finn Wolfhard. Mike Hanlon was played by Chosen Jacobs. This is a message to the people of my generation, people in their mid-30s who are starting families and naming their kids. Will you please stop naming them these ridiculous, stupid names? This is getting out of hand. Who the hell names their child Chosen?
It's preemptive stage moms is what it is.
Chosen?
Yes.
That child is chosen.
It is, I want this kid to be on TV, so I'm going to give them...
It really bothers
And with a name like Pilot Inspector, you know that kid's going right to the top.
Moxie Crime Fighter.
Oh,
Your
God.
children are not supposed to be... Naming your child is not supposed to be proof of how clever you are. I just, as a public service, I really needed to get that out into the world, and I appreciate the opportunity to do so.
This has been a message from Topher Payne.
Ding, 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 ding.
My last thought is on casting for part 2. Now, we remember who played Pennywise in the miniseries.
Yes.
Okay? Tim Curry.
Yes.
Now, Tim has gone through some hard times. He had a stroke a few years back. He's in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. Well, if you remember, there's a place for him, and rumor is that Tim Curry is going to be cast in part 2 as...
Medication time. Medication time.
We ran out of time. I will tell you next week.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Beni Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the Office of Howard and Fine. Turn on your dead light. Let it shine where it... Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Shag Records and is a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Listen, watch on YouTube, listen on SoundCloud, stream us on Stitcher, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. And until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
Daniel Ryder.
I'm Topher Payne.
I'm Michael Reed.
LOZ!
Audio Primate.
Can't sleep. Clown will eat me. 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 Can't